Hey, just when it seemed as if government couldn't get any sillier, word arrives that Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker's issued an executive order banning visitors from most other states unless they show proof of being COVID-free or they quarantine in Massachusetts for 14 days. And I don't know about you, but based on his flip antagonism towards liberty, I'd rather not get stuck anywhere near Charlie Baker for 14 days. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV. Well, following the example of Maine Governor Janet Mills, Democrat, and who wouldn't want to follow her, Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker, whom Joe Biden recently confused with jazz great Charlie Parker, just issued an executive order.
The governor imposes strict new travel rules for anyone coming into Massachusetts. Before long, most visitors who arrive and residents who come home are going to have to quarantine for 2 weeks.
This time, the order includes a fine for violating that rule.
And goodness knows, quarantining in the leftist empire of Massachusetts, with many businesses still shut down statewide and an even more draconian lockdown in Boston proper thanks to Mayor Marty Walsh, must be a real treat. Holding a news conference on July 24th, the self-styled Republican governor explained that his glorious order would require visitors from all but 8 other states and many Massachusetts residents returning from those states to provide proof of a negative COVID-19 test taken within the 72 hours prior to entering his decaying fiefdom. Those who could not provide proof of said reliable tests, wink wink, would be forced to fill out a Massachusetts travel form, which surely the state will sanitize and keep hermetically sealed in a mayonnaise jar on Funkin' Wagnall's porch until Karnak the Magnificent returns from the grave. And of course, since Massachusetts always needs money and Charlie Baker's extra long suits probably cost a lot, violators would be fined $500 per day. All of which is curious for numerous reasons. First, Mr. Baker doesn't have any constitutional or moral power to do this. Not only is the U.S. Constitution's Interstate Commerce Clause supposed to stop this kind of interstate trade and travel block, Baker's edict overtly contravenes the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, and the 14th Amendment, and the prohibition against any government inflicting cruel and unusual punishment. Because, of course, without a trial, there can be no punishment. Second, on a practical level, beyond the in-your-face imposition and potential virus spread caused by having cops question people and collect and check paperwork, Baker's 8 special states, the travelers from which he won't require your papers, include New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, which, according to the constitutionally dubious U.S. Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, happen to comprise the top 4 slots for COVID-19 related deaths in the U.S. It's a good thing the press does such a stellar job following the info and asking questions of Baker while they have him in front of them, isn't it? And then there's Hawaii, which is also one of his magic exemption states. That would be the multi-island state across the Pacific Ocean and across the continent of North America. It's the location that requires nearly half a day in the air if one wants to fly direct, and usually requires a stopover or transfer at a place like LAX before completion of the journey. Even if Steve McGarrett, Dano, and Chin Ho were to pass the unreliable COVID-19 test prior to leaving their 5-0 base on the Big Island, the travel and potential contacts they'd encounter on their way to play jazz with Charlie Parker in Massachusetts would be so numerous as to render any such test even more useless and invalid than it already was. Like Maine's Governor Janet Mills, who issued the same kind of edict a few weeks ago and broke her own mask in public order by grabbing a photo op and an ice cream outside, it's almost as if Charlie is less than sincere when it comes to things like caring about Massachusetts businesses and fundamental rights. And as with Mills's order, some might wonder how Baker plans on enforcing his command. Well, the answer lies in licensing. Like Mills, Baker will tell any hotel or short-term lodging to collect and record the papers of out-of-state visitors. Should the agents of the state find that the hotel or lodging files are not in order, the state will fine them or threaten to revoke their licenses to remain open. This in a state where the governor has decreed that casinos can open prior to amusement parks, and where gun licensing halted for weeks because, of course, the governor's offices handling that unconstitutional mandate were closed. If more Americans understood the economic definition of fascism, they might see it as more than a weapon word bandied around to deride and mark people, and understand that it means the nominal, in name only, ownership of a private business that's actually run according to state government political commands. They might see that the entire superstructure of licensing is offensive, fascistic, and stands in the way of private property, voluntary association, and individual will. No one should have to get permission from the state to engage in peaceful market offerings and purchases, ever. So, here's a message for Charlie Parker. The more people understand the meaning of the word fascism, the more they will understand that this is precisely what you have instituted in your New England readout. Charlie, you are engaging in fascist tactics. And don't be shocked or laugh this off as frivolous rhetoric when people tell you this fact, because it is the truth, Charlie, and it has no place in the United States, and it certainly has no place in the mind of anyone who wants to treat others morally. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Remember, please like and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed because sometimes people get dropped. Tell your friends, ask them to subscribe as well. We'd love to increase the subscriber base and increase the number of people who get to communicate with us. I'll communicate with you in the comments section. I'll see you over on Facebook, in social media. And don't forget, head to MRCTV.org. That's MRCTV.org. Check it out every day if you can and find out what the whole team is doing. They do amazing work out there, and of course, not every piece that's written gets to be seen as a video. I really admire the pluck and the principles of all the people who work at MRC. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I admire you for sticking with us. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.